All right, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, yesterday, I took the Republican plan for the next phase of the so-called bailout to task, noting that the decision to push for a capital gains cut tax and modest infrastructure plan is a complete policy and political disaster. At the end, however, I said there is very little to hope because I was quite sure the Democratic Party, led by Nancy Pelosi, would come up with something just as stupid. And of course, I was right. Roll call reports that the extent of the thinking is that expanding the Paycheck Protection Program and including access to small businesses. Now, obviously, I think that's great, and as long as they don't try to attach any stupid woke provisions like they did last time around, then all for it. But further down in the roll call story, it was revealed that the House Democratic bill will include allowing small business relief for 501c4 and 501c6 organizations. And as Lee Fang over at The Intercept reported Monday, K Street lobbyists have been chomping at the bit to get bailed out, and conveniently, most of the largest lobbying groups are organized as 501c6s. The Organization of American Society of Association Executives, which lobbies on behalf of lobbying organizations, said, quote, "These organizations are already relied upon to help coordinate federal resources to combat the coronavirus pandemic. They require staff to fulfill this duty." In a way, you have to respect the honesty there. The lobbying organizations are openly involved in crafting public policy, so if they go bankrupt, there will be no way to do public policy as we know it. And that perfectly demonstrates my point yesterday that while Democrats, they probably won't let something like a capital gains tax cut go through, any marriage of these two plans will include things like this. An immense political capital will be spent on scrapping over lobbyist dollars and which lobby it goes to, instead of which lawmaker has a better proposal to actually bail out average citizens. So nothing better demonstrates our bipartisan failure more than this proposal and the political development in Congress. But perhaps in a more hopeful note than my angry rant yesterday, nothing also represents a better political opportunity, because nearly half of American small businesses in America face total bankruptcy. Tens of millions of Americans have filed for unemployment just this morning, and all of most people have gotten is a $1,200 check. Business owners across America are weighing the difficult choice of whether they will ever be able to turn on their lights again. One thing I've actually learned about this country is people have faith in their government, sometimes to a fault. They tend to give leaders the benefit of the doubt in the moment that they will eventually be taken care of. But people who watch this show know that this is very unlikely to come to pass, especially in this crisis. The Republican leadership is talking about debt already. The Democratic leadership wants to keep the hospital industry nice and supplied throughout this crisis, and their insurance friends. The largest populist uprising, I'm still convinced, will come. Just like 2016, when people fully realized that the promises of the Obama administration were never coming to pass. They exercised their power in their vote. And it is in that story, once again, that lays the greatest political opportunity in America. An opportunity to actually fight for people to simply live their lives and get the same helping hand that is being offered right now to the richest and the most powerful amongst us. And it's here that it's most important for people to be on the record and out during these negotiations. These so-called leaders need to at least show where they stood in these times so that we can evaluate their record in the future. We need to press the small cadre of the populists on the left and the right to be clear about where they are, to know if they're going to fight for us in the future. At the time of the vote against the Iraq war, it seemed very politically insane to speak out against that war. How did that work out a few years later for some? Some of the best Senate and congressional floor speeches I've ever read have been those of dissenting senators from terrible decisions in our history that come back to remind us in the history books that not everybody was on board with the conventional wisdom, that a select few could see the utter madness that would follow. And I've never been more convinced that we're in a moment like that than right now. And that's what we see right now, Crystal. I mean, I saw that and I was like, this is a parody plan. First of all, I love that there's an association that lobbies on behalf of associations.
I mean, I should have known that, but it's still dystopian hellscape kind of stuff, for sure. It really is. It still does, like, turn my heart black.
You have to respect the honesty of you can't get anything done without us.
You need,
right? You need us to be employed because you're literally incapable of legislating. I mean, let's think about that. They are openly telling Congress, you need us us, the associations, to stay alive so that we can supply you with what our industry lobbying groups want so that you can go and pass that. It's like a circular group.
It's totally true.
And it's all true. That's the best part. It's like in these times we get revealed for everything for what. Because in the past it'd be like, oh no, we're an advisory public policy organization. We just represent our interests here in Washington. And here they're like, no. We need taxpayer money now so that we can help you decide where the rest of that taxpayer money goes,
right,
based on what our people love.
And so we can help you literally write the bills.
Exactly. That's literally what they're saying. And it's like I said, you have I know that there's not some grand proposal laying on the other side because this is what they put forward. They're talking about more money for the Paycheck Protection Program. That should not even be that should be bipartisan to one of those things. It should just be auto-renewed and uncapped within Congress. Like we shouldn't even be scrapping over
there never should have been a cap to start with. It's insane.
In the first place. But that's the ground. So they're talking about Paycheck Protection Program. And like they say, want more money to go to minority-owned businesses. I think that's fine as long as there's no diversity, whatever programs attached to it. And they want now money for the lobbying organization. I mean, it's just too perfect. Like more money for the hospital industry, more COBRA subsidies on the left. On the right, they're talking about capital gains taxes. I mean, this is a total and complete. They're just selling out to whoever their beholden constituencies are. That's it.
And you see at the very beginning of this crisis, when the initial massive package was put together, we saw who was organized. We saw who. I mean, the lobbyists came in.
Oh, yeah.
They already had all their wish lists that they've been working on for years, trying to get stuck into whatever bill they could. And as soon as there was a crisis, they grabbed what they already had. They stuck it into the bill. Real estate developers get the biggest tax benefit in the thing. Boeing got legislation specifically written for Boeing, right? And they packaged it together with these measly, $1,200 payments to people, unemployment. The $600 additional was like the only real good thing that came out of this. The small business, way too little money in all of that, but they tied that together, held workers and small businesses hostage, and they got everything that they wanted. And the promise, it passed unanimously in the Senate. And the promise was, we'll fight on the next time. The next time we'll have our ducks in a row. Nope. The next time we're going to get... No, because you already gave away the story. You have no leverage left. And that's what's so dispiriting is no, we already lost. The leverage is gone. At the very beginning, we lost because they were so well organized. They have so much money. They have so much infrastructure. That's why, time and time again, the will of the people is overruled. No American wanted the bailout package to look like this. This isn't what you would have voted for. This isn't what you would have lobbied your legislators for, or written letters, or called in, or whatever you do, or protested for. But because they passed it so quickly with so little transparency, they just grabbed up what was around to serve their donors, to serve their potential next employers. That's a big part of this too, is you can walk right out of Congress, whether you are an elected member or the aides of those elected members who are also looking to rub the backs of these guys. Who do you think
works in these associations of lobbying groups?
Exactly.
I know a lot of these people, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We have a few of them on the show sometimes. But they're looking out for their future job prospects. So they'll do this favor for you. They'll still stick that thing in, and next thing you know, presto, like that, they are ready to go. And that's why so often in this town, it's really apparent in this crisis, but this is the way of business all the time.
Yeah, and this is why I ended with, look, the Dem plan is a literal, yesterday I was like, if you tasked me with a parity plan, if you asked me the Democratic parity plan, it would be bailing out lobbyists in the middle of a global pandemic. So everybody's being a parody of themselves, and that's why I think this is the greatest political opportunity of the century. If somebody wants to go out there and actually take a real stand and go on the record against whatever they're doing right now and go for a national jobs program, in 3 years, they're going to look like a goddamn prophet.
Yeah.
Because look at Iraq. How many people actually spoke out against Iraq? 12? And then even then, once the war started to go out, people were vilified in this town for going against that war. Barack Obama, a no-name state senator, gave a speech in 2002, and it's because of that speech that he became president of the United States.
Yeah.
And we have to think about that. Look, this is what we always say. for real populist politics to take over, you have to make it politically convenient for people. Because look, these people are hypocrites, and they're the worst, least moral people on earth. And that's okay, actually. In a way, you can take advantage of that, which is, look, we know how politics is going to go in this country. We know that 3 years from now, people are going to be looking at their bank accounts, looking at the business they used to work at that's boarded up. They're going to be on unemployment, which will have been extended for the umpteenth time, but people are like scrapping over how much the rate is going to go up, and they're not going to be able to find a job, and everybody they know is not going to be able to find a job, and they're going to be pissed, and they're going to vote. And you can capitalize on that. We just need to make people understand, look, it's like you said, I actually just don't have any hope they're going to do anything. Because at this point, they gave the store away.
No.
I mean,
we already know.
Josh Hawley was flying through the airport and was talking to United employees who had their hours cut, even though one of the explicit provisions of the $50 billion direct payment to the airlines was you can't cut your workers' hours. They just do it. We don't have a lot of
and they've already said
provisions.
After that time frame expires, they're going to cut 30% of their stuff. And they're like, okay, we'll wait until that expires, and then we're going to let you go. Just heads up, 30% of you are gone.
Our entire economy is basically, like I said yesterday, we might be running at 80% for the next 2 years. It could be lower. Honestly, people underestimate how much we actually spend on restaurants, air travel, leisure spending, exactly, that drives so much economic
It's everything, which is a problem in and of itself. It's actually what I'm covering on my radar. But, this is also where, and look, we said it on the show when I was arguing Bernie cannot drop out, because at least there was an organized movement for a different approach that had some power that it could wield. But when he drops down and bends the knee, he's disappeared from the guy. He's irrelevant now.
He is.
And the entire movement is completely dispirited because of that choice that was made. There was an organized opposition, and just it's completely demoralized. So now you end up with Nancy and Chuck and Mitch running the show and the Trump administration and all these people, and you know what you're going to get out of that.
We see it. And he just goes, you guys figure it out and I'll sign it. Because that's basically it.
He's already for payroll tax cut and maybe infrastructure if we're going to get crazy. It's just absolutely
This
pathetic.
has always just been the central issue with his presidency. And it just shows you how power works in D.C. When there's a vacuum and that vacuum is at the top, you're going to see it just get filled in by the associations of lobbyists and capital gains, the financial industry, like all these other different people are going to be coming in. And this is the end result. But like I said, there is opportunity here for anyone who wants to go out there and take it, because I know where the country is going to be in a couple of years.
Well, thank you for introducing me to the cursed idea of lobbyists for lobbyists.
Lobbyists for
lobbyists. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome. I'm looking forward to your radar next.